Hello, everyone, and welcome into the 8th edition of LFP Live. My name is Connor. I've got Brian here with me today. Elliot wasn't able to make it, but we're holding it down. Before we get into everything, Brian, how you doing?
Doing great, having a nice Sunday morning. You know, aside from someone hammering something at 8 in the morning somewhere in the apartment, we're doing well.
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, coming off of a huge win. Nice to see everyone in chat right at 9 a.m. Matt, this message was at 8:45. I think it's like the running joke now. It just
I,
keeps getting
I
earlier and
respect the
earlier.
grind.
Yeah. One day we're just gonna see Matt like put in there at like 6 a.m. He like won't be able to sleep in the middle of the night. Just type good morning level flight. Yeah, but good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Very early on this Sunday morning at 9 a.m. But we've got a lot to talk about. The Jets with a huge 4-2 win yesterday over their rival, the Minnesota Wild. 3 goals from the fourth line and a goal from Kyle Connor as well that powered them to victory. And if you look on the right there, that's the schedule we're going to follow today. The win in Minnesota, talking about that fourth line, all 3 of them got goals. Taking a look at the Central Division standings with the Jets only now 2 points behind the Colorado Avalanche. We'll talk about kind of the implications on that. And then, of course, to end off the show, we'll be taking questions from everyone as we usually do. So stick around for that. But for now, let's get into this Wild game. Brian, huge 4-2 win, the Jets' third straight win. Moved them within 2 points of the Avalanche in the Central, like I said. I know you weren't able to watch this game live, but having gone back, what did you see from the Jets in their win over the Wild?
What I saw was what I think is their X factor in any playoff series, and that is the ability to win your matchups regardless of where you are. Um, okay, that's a challenge for you, Matt. Let's see, and we'll keep track.
I don't know.
But no,
Let Matt do his thing. I don't know. We don't want you setting alarms at 6 a.m. Getting up.
listen, I'm usually up fairly early, so I'll check in.
There you go.
But no, like for me, the biggest thing was, I mean, like obviously we're going to talk about the fourth line,
Yeah.
but having all 3 of them score, um, it's one of those strengths that you cannot overstate, especially in the playoffs. And we're gonna, obviously delve a little bit more into the importance of, home ice advantage if you manage to pass Colorado, but having the ability to line match and also have that much depth is going to be huge. Like I don't want to
Yes.
like that for me is the biggest, quote unquote home ice advantage because uh a lot of the times if it's just the whiteout, obviously it's going to give them a little bit of a boost. It might also lend itself to nerves. Like I think that's a net zero, but I feel like
I just think it's cool to have more of. Like
oh
even
yeah,
even if it does lend to
exactly.
nerves,
But like having
just
those
do it
the two
anyways. Yeah.
first games, having that and the that last change against Nathan McKinnon is, I think, is massive. So
Absolutely.
you're seeing the benefits of, having guys lower in the lineup who can step up and score because there's a solid chance that maybe the line against McKinnon, whoever it is going to get, either outscored or they're going to split down the middle. And
Mhm.
then you win the game if the rest of your depth just shows up. So
Yeah, and we'll get into this conversation more later on, but I don't know, I just have a feeling that having game 1 in Winnipeg and having game 1 be the whiteout is just, like, a different feeling than having game 3 and game 4 be the whiteout. Like, I don't know, I feel like the years that the Jets have had home ice, it's just been a more electric feel than, say, last year, where the whiteout's still insane, but you had that one game 4 that was like a 9 p.m. local start. It's just like
oh,
weird. But yeah, I guess that didn't really help the case. Again, the whiteout, one of the best atmospheres in pro sports. So I'm kind of nitpicky on that end. But as for this game, you brought up the fourth line. It was first Vladislav Nemestikov on a great play from Alex Iafallo below the goal line, getting him the puck. The second goal was then Alex Iafallo. Everyone thought it was Brendan Dillon. I thought it was Brendan Dillon. And then in the intermission, they showed this super slow-mo, super zoomed in replay of it barely touching the stick of Iafallo. So it ended up being his goal. And then the third goal, Morgan Barron, another great fourth line shift. They is like a very cliche fourth line shift. They got pucks deep. They were just cycling it around, got it to the point. Barron parked himself right in front of Marc-Andre Fleury, tipped the puck in, and that was the insurance marker that made it 4-2. And look, like the fourth line they weren't just great because they all scored goals, but the process that led to those goals was really, really impressive. They were like controlling the puck every time they were on the ice. And you talked about the depth advantage that the Jets have over almost everyone in the West except for Dallas, I'd say. And that's what it is. And that fourth line, like Morgan Barron, Nemestikov, and I follow, like coincidentally, all of their 11th goals of the season. You have 3 players with more than 10 goals. It's
Wild.
11 goals each on your fourth line. That's nuts. That is unbelievable depth.
That's how you win playoff series.
That's how you win playoff series. And look, like the one thing I wanted to bring up in regards to the fourth line is the first 2 goals were really all them. Like they were on the ice for all of them. The first goal and the Barron goal. The second goal, the I follow one, the Scheifele Ehlers Velarde line had the puck in the wild end for about 2 minutes, cycling it around, like getting an insane amount of rebounds in front. The puck retrievals were there from both Ehlers and Velarde working down low, Scheifele being more of the middleman, facilitating up high. And man, that line was super fun to watch. They absolutely dominated the analytics and they didn't score. But look, the process is going to lead to results eventually, and we've seen the results with that line.
Well, if you can choke teams out like that, like it is absolutely pivotal for a first line to be able to dominate. If first line's not dominating,
you're
what's the point?
What's the point of having a good fourth line if your first line's not dominating? Like there's really that doesn't really do much, right?
Yeah.
But to wrap up my point is the first line coming on for 2 minutes and dominating and having a million shots on goal, and then the fourth line jumping over the boards, continuing it, and it ending in a goal is what made the Jets so successful in that run in November and December. That is like depth that we didn't see over the last couple months because the top line wouldn't have stretches like that. Now that your top line can do that, then your fourth line, all 3 of them have 11 goals, can hop over the boards against a tired group of Wild and continue the cycle and keep it going. And that is what wins you playoff series, is sustained offensive pressure. And they can do that with these line combinations. And it was on full display, especially on that third goal. It was a beauty because that first line was just cooking. And then within 10 seconds, the fourth line jumps on and scores a goal. And it was just a nice way to cap off the shift. But what else from this game that interests you? I guess you didn't really get into the fourth line. That was more just me rambling, but go ahead.
I mean, for me too, is especially on the that and the penalty kill.
Special teams in general, because the penalty kill also was
That's where I was going to go with it, where it's the penalty kill, not good. You have to, like that's the thing, like the power play has the ability to be good. You've seen it. They have to just run it a specific way. But they have to do that consistently. Because if
what do you have more faith in going into the playoffs? The power play or the penalty kill?
Power play. Because
too. Like, and it's
I'm
not
sorry,
even close.
Especially against, guys like Nate McKinnon. If you're playing passively, he's going to blow right past you and embarrass you in front of your entire family.
That's the thing that worries me. It's like, it's not like they're playing. The Wild scored or was it only once? One of their goals was on the power play, I think. But the other times they had a million chances, and Connor Hellebuyck was great. And then they blocked a ton of high danger chances and things of that nature. But man, you won't get that lucky against the Colorado Avalanche. And Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, if he's healthy, we got to talk about that because he exited the game the other night.
He got absolutely lit up against the Oilers.
Yeah, I like that hit is like an optical illusion for me. But anyways, we'll talk about that more when we talk about the standings later on. But they have one of the best power plays in the league, and that can change a series right there as well. Like your fourth line, there are levels to this. Your fourth line can dominate at 5-on-5 all you want. If you're getting scored on twice every game on the power play penalty kill, it's going to be really hard to win a series that way. So, but yeah, keep rolling with your thought on the PK and the power play as well, because the power play also didn't look great.
Yeah. The Jets power play is at its best when they are both shooting whenever they get the ability to have somewhat of an open shot, or they are running it low to high to make whoever they're playing a little bit uncomfortable with moving too much. So then you get some open passing lanes, and then suddenly they're off balance, and then you can find a way to feed it down low to Velarde, which is the only way it seems to happen. I do also, I am concerned with the fact that Kyle Connor isn't really burying those power play chances from his circle anymore.
Yeah,
Like, he's being very tentative too ever since
right.
he's come back. Like,
Yeah,
it's frustrating because he's got one of the best shots in the league and he can operate so fast, but he never just wires it anymore. Like, he gets the puck he's usually cross ice from Scheifele, so he has time, but he takes the entirety of the time, allows the goalie to get over, and then shoots. Like, if you just on and off the stick as quick as you can, even if it's a slapper, like, obviously, yeah, it's a little bit more volatile. But you probably have a better shot at beating the goalie if you're just getting it off your stick as quick as possible. But he always holds it, stick handles a little bit, then fires it, and it usually hits either a defender because they've had time to get over, or it hits the goalie right in the chest. So I need that to be a bigger threat. But for the Jets, I just, as long as they don't go back to the umbrella, because operating from up top just is not their strength. And that's just because I don't know if neither Morrissey or Pionk have have the ability to reasonably quarterback it, because I don't know. I don't know if you've noticed this too. Both of the guys make it fairly apparent where they're going to pass it to. Like, it's like I found that's been an issue for a long time, especially with Morrissey. Obviously, we know what he can do, and his passing ability is great. But I find that the best power play defensemen, I should say, make it so you don't really know where they're going with the puck. I always find that with Morrissey quarterbacking, it's almost like he feels the pressure of it, and that's when he makes it clear where he's going. When he's not the quarterback and he's just kind of a secondary piece to it, I feel like he's a lot more skilled. Like, it's weird that way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree with you, but I also feel that he's a little handcuffed, because this is my point. When was the last time you saw Mark Scheifele shoot from the half wall on the power play? Like, at all. Like, you talked about Kyle Connor being passive, and that is a thing. Like, he's got to just rip some shots. And again, he's one of the most talented one-timer, quick release players in the league. So you want to play into that strength. But what if Josh Morrissey, I agree with your point. Like, he does telegraph his passes, but let's say he walks the line and throws a crazy no-look backhand pass to Mark Scheifele. Okay, what is Scheifele going to do? He's going to catch it, and he's going to stop, and he's going to look, and he's going to look.
He's going to pass it to Connor.
And then he's going to pass it to Velarde down low. And then it will have been for nothing. So I don't know. I think, yeah, they can't run it through the top, because there's really just one shooting option. Because Doug brings up a point here. Like, Morrissey and Pionk don't really have that threat from the point, that shot, that bomb of a shot. Like, Morrissey is a great shot, but he doesn't really use it enough on the power play as well. But again, like I said, if he no look between the legs, like, Michigan passes it over to Mark Scheifele,
it doesn't matter if they shoot.
He's not going to shoot. But yeah, running it through Velarde down low has worked in the past, and I have faith that it'll work.
They need to be consistent with it, though. Like, they go games where they will do that. They'll score 2 power play goals, and then suddenly it's like, what if we tried the old way? I swear it'll work this time.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they ever go back to that, because there's clearly one way that works and one way that doesn't. It's been frustrating this year where the special teams on both sides of it have just been so inconsistent, and frankly, a lot of the time they've been bad. Like, I very rarely can you just say something's been bad outright. Power play for 80% of the year has been truly awful. Penalty kill, especially since the streak ended of the 3 goals or less, it's almost like if you give up more than one power play in a game, they're going to score on at least one, whoever you're playing. Doesn't seem to
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, and the power play, or sorry, the penalty kill. It feels like all year the power play has been the bigger topic because it went so like distant and invisible for weeks, months. Like I remember
Yeah.
us talking about it on multiple episodes saying like they're going to lose playoff series if they don't get it together. And then Velarde kind of came back from his injury. They started running it through him. It was good again, then he got hurt again. And the power play's just been kind of up and down if Velarde's in the lineup. The penalty kill's just been on like a steady, I feel like mediocre / decline
Yeah.
here as of late. Like it just hasn't been as up and down as the power play, but it's just as concerning. I do want to bring this up because Logan Stanley played yesterday. Sammy Smokes asking, will Logan Stanley see more games going forward? Seems to be picking up his level of play. The second part of that sentence, I agree with. Like he has picked up his level of play. I think Scott Billick tweeted out yesterday that the shot attempts when he was on the ice were like 15-6 in his favor or 16-5, something like that. Like he played great. And yesterday he didn't have a big hit and he didn't have a big fight. Like he can play great outside of that stuff. Which is growth in the player. Like I think he's kind of shaped his game here. He did do the fighting and all that. And maybe he was in the lineup because they were playing Minnesota and maybe something might have happened and they would have wanted him to fight. But out, like he didn't have to fight to have a productive game is what I'm trying to say. And Matt kind of bringing up a good point here as well. Off of that, if Sandberg keeps getting comfortable on that right side, I could see that be a pairing for the Jets going into the playoffs. That would mean Nate Schmidt and Colin Miller on the outside looking in, which again, great depth. But where are you at with Logan Stanley? How did you think he played last night? And where do you think he is at going into the playoffs here, round 1, game 1, his probability of being in the lineup?
Yeah. I mean, you said it best, where he's just kind of been just like a steady improvement this year in terms of just like actual play. I think for me, where I'm going to the playoffs with this is if you have last change, I think you have Stanley in the lineup. Plus, it's home ice. You lay a big hit, gets the crowd into it.
Right.
If you go into Colorado and they have last change, they're going to put Nate McKinnon on against Logan Stanley because they know who's going to win that battle.
Yeah.
So I think that it matters on who gets that last change, because I think if you're in Colorado, you're going to see someone who's a bit more mobile, whether it's Schmidt or Miller or one of those two. You're probably going to see one of them. I'm assuming Schmidt, just because that's been kind of their default pairing when it's always been Sandberg, Schmidt, and they've been great in their minutes.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they feel comfortable against the speed of Colorado in Colorado to play Stanley in that spot. But I think he does start in a game that is in Winnipeg. So I think that's what you have to watch for.
And I actually, that's a great take. I 100% agree, because the more I think about it, like in my mind, what Stanley brings best is the ability to kind of lift the penalty kill up a little bit more than a Nate Schmidt would, more than a Colin Miller would. Like with his long reach, he's able to disrupt more pucks, theoretically, block more shots because he's bigger. Like just simple as that. But I think if they're on the road, you bring up a great point. They'll put Nate McKinnon. Like I feel like when the Avs are at home in this series, McKinnon's going to play 30 minutes a night. Like maybe not as much on the road because they won't have that favorable matchup. But I feel like after every single whistle, every single TV timeout, every time they have an offensive zone face-off, Nathan McKinnon's going to be coming on the ice.
He's going to play like 40 minutes a night.
Yeah, like because they don't have good depth whatsoever. So they're going to be playing McKinnon a lot. And you don't want Logan Stanley out there. Although I do think Dylan Sandberg is a guy that is a really good skater and defends the rush really well. And if he got caught out there against Nathan McKinnon, he wouldn't have too many issues. If I'm being honest, I really like Sandberg's skating in his defensive game.
Yes.
Again, everyone has issues against Nate McKinnon, so it's not like he's going to shut him down and hold him to 0 points in a 7-game series. But
it'll help.
Yes, it'll help. And you bring up a great point on home ice. they can kind of shelter that pairing in a way and put Stanley and Sandberg out there against Colorado's depth, which I have no issue. They'll be fine against Colorado's second,
Like, I'm
third
sorry,
line. Yeah.
you can put a guy like Logan Stanley out there who, as everyone has acknowledged, skating is not his biggest strength.
Really
Obviously,
been
it's
a
his
better
size,
skater
his
this year.
shot,
Like, it's
and
still not a strength, but yeah.
yeah. Um, but you can play a Logan Stanley against a line that consists of like Zach Parise and
Yeah.
all of these guys who are,
Miles Wood. Like,
one foot in the retirement home. Like, it's because you've also got, like, on their fourth line, Andrew Cogliano's still playing, which I didn't know. I have no idea how old he is, but it feels like he's been around for quite literally forever. I don't know. He
yeah.
may have played in the 30s. I'm not sure. But granted,
30s
like,
to 30s.
it feels like he's been around forever because he had that Iron Man streak, because he did not miss a single game essentially from the point of like him being 20 until he was like mid 30s.
Yeah.
So yeah, that like lower in their lineup, it's either really old or kind of just like the middling depth guys, like that thing, like guys like Miles Wood, Yakov Trenin. They are fast, but they don't bring a whole lot else. Like, their shot metrics are decent, but I don't trust them against the Jets' depth. They're probably feasting on other guys.
Yeah, and the Jets' shot metrics are great. Like, in terms of, if you want to look at their top two lines since they put them back together, that's their shot metrics and their expected goals of things of that nature have looked the part from Winnipeg Jets hockey. And I'm not gonna lie, like this 3-game winning streak since they put the lines back together, which is funny. But extending it back 2 games before that, their loss against Ottawa and their loss against Vegas, where I could hear a very legitimate argument that they should have won both of those games, because you look at the analytics and you look at the eye test, like, they were all over Vegas for large stretches of that game. They were all over Ottawa for large stretches of that game, especially the last 10 minutes.
One power play goal.
Yeah. Brady
makes
Tkachuk
it
scored with a minute left, and that
Yeah.
was the game. Like, honestly, I on like this last 5-game stretch, this will be our last conversation before we go into break, and we'll come out with some standings watch and then some questions. But does this last 5-game stretch, which includes 2 losses in there, but maybe even focusing more on the 3 wins, does that give you more confidence against an Avs in the first round? Obviously, it gives you more confidence than a 6-game losing streak. That's kind of a rhetorical question, but is this looking more like the December, November version of the Winnipeg Jets in your eyes?
Well, I mean, the thing for me is it took 6 games to get there, but
Yeah.
the lines are finally one unit that I would feel confident with, because it was very disjointed before. And going into a series against anyone, to be honest with you, I feel better with the lineup as it is made up now than I did, 3 games ago when they were losing.
Agreed.
And I think that the key to any successful team is having the ability to make up for any offense that is negated by the other team. And when you're losing the battle with your first line, you're losing the battle with your second line, and you have to make up all of your offense with a checking third line and your fourth line, you're gonna lose. That's just how it works.
Exactly.
So now
they have Ottawa or whoever.
They have a really great first line now. They have a really good second line. They have, as we know, that third line, always good. And then the fourth line scored 3 goals yesterday. Like, I don't know how you can possibly go back to where you were before, because that's the thing, because I don't see any situation now, unless there's some sort of galaxy brain stuff on this road trip, that we go back to what wasn't working beforehand. I am concerned that if they do struggle against a Central Division opponent, there's a knee-jerk reaction, because we have seen those this year.
I don't know, man. Last night, it was hilarious, actually, because last night Nikolai Ehlers went off early on one of his shifts, and Kyle Connor hopped on, and it was Connor, Sheffield, Velarde for, I'd say, like 35 seconds, the Jets spent all 35 seconds in the defensive zone. And then after like Hellebuck saved it and covered it, covered it, Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast was like, and this is what you've seen the last little bit when Connor and Scheifele are together. They just get pinned in their own zone. And I was like, yeah, when they're together, they get pinned in their own zone. So it's like, Nikolai Ehlers, don't go off early on your change unless the third line.
Please don't stay out there,
or else the Jets are getting pinned. But like, I don't know. And I brought this up after the Calgary game because it was really just comical how they dominated the first 10 minutes. Then they flip Connor and Ehlers. They get dominated for the next 20, 25.
Got absolutely throttled.
Then they flip it back and they dominate the Flames for the remaining 20 minutes. It's like, and then I bring up this wild scenario where Nikolai Ehlers goes off early and then the top line or the old top line gets pinned. It's like, I just don't know how you can look at those two scenarios and look at the 6-game losing streak and the games that they played before that and think that this is that's the way to go. If they do a knee-jerk reaction, I think it'll be more like Perfetti out of the top 6 for Toffoli or something like that. I just can't see them flipping Ehlers and Connor again because, man, that would just kill things. Because you brought up the point of the first line. I tweeted this out yesterday. Let me find the stats real quick. The top line didn't score last night, so the results weren't there, but they controlled the shot attempts 14-9, the scoring chances 9-5, and the expected goals were 67% in their favor. And
the process.
If that process keeps up, it's going to lead to results. And the process there, I brought it up earlier, that's them cycling the puck for 2 minutes in the offensive zone, the fourth line jumping on, and then finishing it off with a goal. Like, they're not getting on the score sheet, but they have just as much of a hand in it as the fourth line does because they set it up and they got the Wild players tired. Excuse me. But yeah, I think these next 3 games are going to be huge. I want to talk about those when we come back. Matt, this current road trip will be telling Central matchups. Yeah, 3 playoff opponents, Central Division. This is going to be a super fun week. I'm just super excited for it. But we're going to talk about it when we come back. First, we're going to hear a word from DraftKings. So stick around, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of the road trip, where the Jets are at in the Central Division, and then end it off by taking questions from you guys. So stick around.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
And welcome back into the 8th edition of LFP Live. My name's Connor. Got Brian here with me today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Sunday morning. Everyone, a few people in chat are bringing up the weather in Winnipeg. Oh. Everyone loves talking about the weather. Let's
patio season is here.
Patio season is here. It has been an absolutely gorgeous week. The weekend was incredible. And I don't know, I haven't checked. Yeah, today's supposed to be plus 15 as well, if I'm just doing a quick check on my phone. So spring is here. It's very nice. But hey, you're joining us here at 9 a.m. We really appreciate it on this Sunday morning. Brian, I'll let you run with this Central Division road trip first. They get the first win. They've got 3 left. They're going to travel home before traveling out to Nashville on Tuesday.
That was so funny.
Yeah, we asked Rick Bowness about it, and he, just with a smirk on his face, basically said, yeah, we don't want the guys heading to Nashville too early. And I was like, fair enough. Look at that, Matt, literally sitting outside on his patio right now. That's
Oh my God, level flights outside.
we're traveling. Yeah, that is awesome. Go on this 3-game road trip. Nashville on Tuesday, Dallas on Thursday, Colorado on Saturday. Dallas and Colorado play tonight at 9 p.m. I'm really excited to watch that game. But what are you expecting to see? Does this really define where they're at in their season? Where are you at with the upcoming road trip?
I think for me, what I'm looking for is the biggest thing for me is playing well against a team like Nashville, who is not the dominant force they were, 2 weeks ago when the Jets played them.
They've lost 4 straight games now.
Exactly.
But I was
Take
told they
advantage of
got
a
hot at
weaker
the right
opponent.
time. This was my whole point. They had won
Call
like 15
it
straight
up.
games.
Bring up the clip.
Oh my goodness. I've never been more right about anything. They had won like 14 straight games or whatever. And everyone, oh, they're getting hot at the right time. I'm like, no, they're not. They could still lose 5 straight games going into the playoffs. And look, they've lost 4 straight games. Their loss last night was to the Islanders.
Well, they lost like what 8-4 against the Coyotes last week.
Yeah. Like, come on. They were getting hot at the right time. Okay, you win all these games in March. Congratulations. The playoffs
Getting hot at
start
the
in
right
late
time
April.
is one of my least favorite hockey cliches, because you could go into the playoffs on a 5-game winning streak and then lose the first 2 games, and then what's the point?
What?
Uh,
Yeah. Oh,
but no,
yeah.
like for me, I feel like my key here is going into Nashville, into a very hostile building, as we know, and silencing those fans, because
Yes.
we know that there's still some bad blood there from the playoff
Oh, for
series.
sure.
Like there's always been something there, but they're struggling. The Jets are not right now. Extinguish them,
Yeah.
please. And then you go in to Dallas, and this for me is the biggest test I think they've had all season. And it's interesting because it comes late in the year. So there's a chance that actually, no, there really isn't. I was going to say there's a chance that maybe some guys aren't playing. Dallas is still trying to hang on to, they're trying to win the division.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
they're going to be playing full force. I will say they got goalied, I think last night or the night before, by Peter Mrazek.
Oh my goodness, they got goalied. I was
They like outchanced Chicago like 90-40, and they lost.
Yeah.
So they're probably mad, but it shows though that sometimes if Ottinger, because Ottinger's been really hot as of late.
Yeah.
We've talked about him being up and down, and when he's hot, he's like a top 5 goalie in the league. When he's not, he's not.
Yeah.
But Scott Wedgwood was in against Chicago. He gave up I think 3 goals, and they weren't able to beat Mrazek, which apparently that's a common thread, because that happened to the Jets too, where they were unable to beat Mrazek in Chicago because he turns into like prime Dom Hasek or something.
For some reason, yeah.
He's always been like that though. Like Mrazek, whether he was in Detroit or wherever, he's kind of a bit of a journeyman. Like in Carolina, where he'd have these stretches where it doesn't matter how good the team is in front of him, he would just go insane and be like a top 3 goalie in the league. So for me, it's taking advantage of the fact that sometimes Dallas just can't score. You need a big game from Hellebuck. That's the thing. Like in the next 3 games, I know a lot of people are going to want to see it. I don't think we see Brissois at all.
I think we see
maybe against Nashville.
I think we see him Tuesday.
See, I would do that. I just don't know if we've seen the reliance on Hellebuck in these big games.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'd say like Dallas and Colorado are like the big games. Like Nashville can't really catch the Jets anymore, because I think they're now 10 points back, 8 points back.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. I would start, which before we go any further, congratulations to Laurent Brissois for being named the Jets Bill Masterton Trophy nominee. If you guys don't know, that's for sort of best embodying perseverance and dedication to hockey. I wrote a little piece about it for the Hockey Writers, where essentially I just detailed the fact that it has not been a smooth sailing career for him throughout everything. So, starting in Edmonton and then only being a backup, getting put down to the minors, brought back up, playing well, then relegated to a backup role, and back and forth, back and forth. Jets give him a shot, runs with it, great when he's there. But then he had a down year after that. Granted, the whole team did, but still, down year after that. Had another good year. Then he signed with Vegas. Injuries ravaged him.
Yeah.
And he was on the way to being, the guy for them in the playoffs. And he was, winning. He helped win the series for them against the Jets. He was helped winning games
Yeah.
against Edmonton. And then he gets hurt. And then he obviously still raises the cup. So that's the big thing.
Yeah.
But he had to get surgery in the offseason. And
Yeah.
he had to come back, and boy, was he not sharp when we first started the year.
Yeah.
And he, looked himself in the mirror, and he talked about it too, like openly, that he needs to be better. He gave himself a pep talk essentially live to the media, and then came out and essentially from December 4th to now has been the best, unequivocally the best backup in the league.
Easily. And he hasn't even had like a bad start. I don't know.
No, like there's been a couple times where I'm like, okay, he looked a little bit uncomfortable, but he's still keeping the team in.
Yeah, like the LA game wasn't a great start. There were a few goals there where you're like, oof, that was rough. But the Jets won the game.
It's a rarity now.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, huge congrats to Laurent Brossoit. Thank you for bringing that up. Going through surgery in the offseason, coming back, and like you said, being easily the best backup goaltender in the league this year. When he moves on in the offseason, and I think that's becoming more and more likely, I think a lot of Jets fans will be happy for him because he's come back to Winnipeg a few times now, and he's been great every time he's been here, and he's gone on to get big money, or not big money in the Vegas sense. He wasn't getting paid like starter money, but he'll get 1A, 1B type money, I think, on the open market this year because he's been amazing. So yeah, great for him. And this is where I'm at. Brossoit gets Preds and Kraken games. I think
I'd agree.
And then Hellebuck gets Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver. I think that's the 5 games left. I think he played.
It is wild to me that we're already like we just listed all the remaining games.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The season's almost done. It's crazy. It's nuts.
I realized I cut off my thoughts before I got to
yes,
the Colorado game. And then Colorado at that point in the season, if everyone's playing, that's game 0.5 essentially, because then you see where you're at, and playing this close to a possible playoff series, if anything happens that possibly irritates the other team, game 1 has an entirely different feel to it. Let's say
100%.
So that you do put Logan Stanley in and he absolutely lights someone up in the corner and like someone gets hurt. Game 1, someone's immediately jumping him.
Yeah.
You know it. And I think that that's a very interesting dynamic. Like playing within 5 games of a possible 7-game series. So you're essentially playing 8 games in a month against the same team, possibly.
Yeah.
Wild. That is insane because as we've seen, like even if there's like a 4 or 5 game series, things still get nasty because you just see the same team constantly.
Yeah.
Adding another one to that less than a week before the end of the regular season is just, I'm very interested to see how that goes. It could go off without a hitch. That's the thing. Like it could be just one of those games where everyone's just doing their thing. At that point too, maybe Dallas has locked up the first place. So then Colorado's only battle is with us for home ice.
Right.
So that might add some intensity to it. But no, I'm just looking for how that game goes because it's so close to the end of the year.
It is like genuinely a playoff primer. And like you said, game 0.5, that's gold because it literally is like it's pretty locked in that those two teams are going to play one another unless Colorado beats Dallas tonight in regulation. Then it's looking a little more likely because Dallas lost to Chicago yesterday. Classic trap game. You see Colorado on the schedule the next night. You see Chicago the day before. We got a big game coming up. Take the night off. I mean, it's not to their fault. They completely shredded the Blackhawks, but Peter Mrazek, like you said, stood on his head. But definitely watching for that game tonight. Just rolling through the Avs' upcoming schedule. They get Dallas tonight, like I said. Tuesday night, they get Minnesota. Then they get 3 days off before playing the Jets at 3 p.m. on Saturday. And then Vegas the very next day on the Sunday on the road. So they travel to Vegas. And then they get another 3 days off before finishing the season at home against the Oilers. So obviously, if you're a Jets fan, you want to see like Dallas win tonight. You want to see the Jets beat them, obviously, on the Saturday. Maybe one of Vegas and Edmonton beats them on that last week. And then if the Jets continue on their path, they can leapfrog them and take over the second seed there for home ice, which is, like we said off the top, crucial. But this game tonight against Dallas is a big one for sure. As for my thoughts on the road trip, I think I mainly agree with all the points that you brought up. The Nashville game is huge, but they've been sliding as of late. So you want to see the Jets take care of business there, especially with how Nashville played the Jets a few weeks ago inside Canada Life Center. Like Nashville dominated the Jets and they scored 2 goals late to make it look better. It was a 4-2 game, but that was really a 4-0 win for Nashville.
It was
like
awful.
Garbage time goals for the Jets. So that'll be a big one. Dallas, can the Jets finally beat the Stars, or will it be a season sweep? We will see. But yeah, that's another playoff primer. Could be a second round matchup for the Jets if they beat the Avs, right? Or if the Avs win tonight, could be a first round matchup because the Avs might go on a heater here and finish as the 1 seed. Who knows? But the Colorado game obviously is the main event. The players are already talking about it after the game yesterday afternoon. They were already talking about, we got this big game coming up against Colorado. So that'll be game point 5, a huge playoff primer. I'm super excited to watch that. Matt here saying, I don't know if Helly takes 4 days off between starts. Probably good for him, but knowing him, he wants to play out the season. I think
that's where I'm
more,
like,
he's more of like doesn't take a week off. Like I think Saturday to Thursday is fine. Unless they go Hellebuck Tuesday and then Bressois against Dallas. Because you're playing Hellebuck against Colorado. Like I think that's non-negotiable. Yep. So I don't know. We'll see. But as Jeff, sorry I'm late. What's the fine? I don't know. We got to come up with a fine for people that show up late. That's a great point. But just to wrap my thoughts, those 3 games are massive. The Jets are already, Rick Bowness said the other day, they're already treating it like playoff games down the stretch here. They play 4 playoff opponents in the West in Nashville, Dallas, Colorado, and Vancouver. And honestly, last night against the Minnesota Wild kind of felt like a playoff game. Like I know Minnesota's out of it, but these are 2 bitter rivals. And the Jets in an intense atmosphere took care of business. I had someone text me that the season series sweep of the Wild feels like when the Bombers go back-to-back on the Labor Day and Banjo Bowl against the Riders. It just has that same feeling to it. I don't know if you agree, but
no, I feel it.
Yeah. All right, do we want to open up questions to the fans?
We kind of rolled through everything here, so we'll give a little bit of extra time to the questions here this week.
I do, while people are throwing their questions down below, I do want to go back because a lot of people were asking about when Niederreiter's healthy, who comes out. This happened a while back earlier on in the chat, but I wanted to save it for the questions portion. So we'll start with that. Everyone, if you're here with us live on YouTube, throw a comment down in the chat, ask a question. It could be about anything, hopefully about hockey. Because
honestly, if it's not, we've kind of strayed from that too. So
yeah, true. Good point. Drop your questions below. We end off every LFP live with this. We take questions from the fans. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this Sunday morning. We really appreciate it. An absolutely gorgeous day outside. So after this, go enjoy your day outside. Gorgeous Sunday. But yeah, let's start with the odd man out conversation. Niederreiter, let's say he comes back against Dallas. Which player do you think is coming out? Cole Perfetti's looked really good on the second line. I don't know how you really messed that up. But yeah, and then the fourth line scored 3 goals last night. So it's a really interesting conversation. And I'll let you go first because this is a really hard question to answer.
Well, I feel like I've kind of hinted at where my thoughts are on this, but we've kind of put it aside because we don't know how long Nino's going to be out.
Right. They said about a week. So
yeah,
that would mean Dallas, Colorado game, roughly.
In my opinion, I think the best possible thing you could do to increase your depth is to keep Perfetti where he is on that line because they've looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Nino comes back, you put him back in his spot, you shift to Foley to the right, you play Niederreiter, Lowry to Foley on your third line, you drop Appleton down to the fourth, because I don't see a situation where Appleton goes from third line to press box. I
Yeah.
barely even see a situation where Appleton goes from third to fourth, but I'm projecting here. And I think I love Morgan Barron. I'm putting my thoughts aside on this though. Barron, there was times this season where he was the odd man out. We have not
Right.
seen, um, you know, we have not seen a situation where either Iafallo or Nemesnikov have been the guy to sit out. So if there's a situation where you want to keep, Perfetti in the lineup, which
Yeah.
it seems like he, um, I mean, Rick Bowness has said nothing but good things ever since he's gone up to that second
Yeah.
line, and he's done nothing to show that he deserves to be taken off of it. That
Yeah.
second line is absolutely humming right now,
Mhm.
and I mean, ideally, you keep that, you improve your third line because that's a thing. Toffoli's no slouch defensively either.
No.
So I think what you're looking at then is a guy who can finish those dirty goals like Nino can on both sides. And so you're
Yeah.
getting these tough players. And then I mean, ideally, in my opinion, you keep that fourth line together and then Appleton's the odd man out. I would that's what I would do because Appleton is one of those guys who's kind of a dime a dozen player. He's just fast. He doesn't have a whole lot of flash to him and all of his goals come when they're down 4 in the third.
Yeah.
Um I that's what I would do because I feel like you get more value out of any of the other sort of fringe guys. But I also have to, recognize what Rick Bowness does because there is the bonus effect here. And you have to look at his past behavior where there's certain guys that just don't come out of the lineup and some guys who have. That's
Yeah.
unfortunately it. And I love a guy like Morgan Barron, but he ultimately has been someone who has rotated out. I don't think he should, but you have to consider it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's two different questions here. It's who do you think comes out and who should come out. And look, Cole Perfetti, this comment here, does Perfetti deserve to be in over a fourth liner? He took 2 months off, fourth liners didn't. Rick Bowness even admitted it. He hit the wall. He's a really young player. He's never played this much hockey in his career, but it's hard to say that he doesn't look like revitalized right now in that top six. And Rick Bowness even said to Cole Perfetti, and he relayed this to the media, that when they were putting him back in the lineup, they were going to give him another shot in the top six. And Cole Perfetti is a top six player. Like Cole Perfetti, what the fourth line did on yesterday against the Minnesota Wild, if Cole Perfetti was on that line, the fourth line is not doing that. Like they're cycling the puck and tipping pucks in front and like whacking away at rebounds. That's not Cole Perfetti's game. Like that's just not what he does. What he does is play with an elite sniper like Kyle Connor. And the goal that Kyle Connor scored, Perfetti ties the guy up on the wall. Monahan comes through and picks it up, 2-on-1 goal. And look, I agree that third line with Niederreiter, Lowry, and Toffoli would be an unreal third line. And you talk about depth. The Avalanche are nowhere near matching that in their third line, and that would be a huge advantage come playoff time. But I think it's unfair to Perfetti, who clearly hit the wall and is clearly past that at this point, to stack him up against fourth liners because when he was in the lineup and hit the wall, he was playing on the fourth line where it's just not a skill. Like that's not the style of the line, is to play with skill and play off the
Yeah.
rush. But when he's in
I mean, we'll say
role,
that fourth line with him on it, because I think like the most common one, I think it was Barron, Nemestikov, Perfetti, or Iafallo, Nemestikov, Perfetti.
yeah,
Very good lines, but like their
it just felt
process
like
was
they didn't
great. They
have an
didn't play
identity.
though.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that was when they were also rolling the top line more than anything else, and it was a mess. And now when you actually have like that incredible ability to play with your depth, I I just don't know what you do, but I don't think, as you said, it's not fair to Cole Perfetti to be like, yeah, he um he played as a fourth liner. He's not a fourth liner. You cannot stack him up against a fourth liner, and he has earned his right to be back in the lineup, and he has played phenomenally over the last week. That you cannot under any circumstance drop him out of the lineup at this point, or down to a fourth line role. That is a disservice to the player. And to be honest with you, that's a relationship thing that I think would become an issue.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
like after being told that like you would get a chance up in the top six. He comes in, he's got what 4 points in 3 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And looks great with those two. If things get shuffled up and then immediately we go back to sort of where we are with square one with him, I don't
Yeah.
know what happens there. And
Yeah.
also, he helps the team win when he's in the top six. That's
Yeah.
the simple fact.
A thing like outside of Cole Perfetti that this does is give the Jets more depth, is because that second line has been good and has been producing. Whether you agree with Cole Perfetti, the player thriving in a playoff setting or not, the second line is producing. And what that does is open up more options down the lineup to have a Tyler Toffoli on your third line. Like that's just not a luxury that playoff teams have. So that's something to watch for. This is a really good question. Who is your player on the third or fourth line? Who is your pick? Sorry, on the third or fourth line to go on a heater in the playoffs like Lowry did last year. I mean, coming off the heels of the conversation we just had, I'd say Tyler Toffoli if he was on the third line, because I had to take a few weeks ago that he's going to score a few big goals for the Jets in the playoffs. But as for a player I know for sure is going to be in the bottom six come playoff time, I'm going to go with Nino Niederreiter. Like this injury is a cut. I don't really think it's too serious. I think he'll be back, and I think if we're being honest, it's giving him like a week off right before the playoffs to kind of rest up a
Yeah.
little bit. So I like that aspect of it, and I think Nino Niederreiter, obviously he plays a playoff style. He's unreal along the wall. Scores a ton of goals in front, and those are the kind of goals that you score in the playoffs. So Nino Niederreiter is my pick to go on a heater. But if Tyler Toffoli's on the third line, then that's my pick. Off to you.
Yeah. For me, I think it's going to be Vlad Domestikov. He has
Yeah,
had
it's been so good all
arguably
year.
his best season in the last like 8 years. He has his second career high in points this year. He's only 7 points behind his career high, where he had, I believe it was 44 for Tampa. He has been such an incredible tool for the Jets, and he's played up in the lineup. He was the
Mhm.
second line center for like 3 months,
Yeah.
and he did just fine. Like it's one of those guys that he knows that he has to be available to play wherever you want him to, and he's going to do his absolute best at that spot.
Yes.
And I think that he's going to be a guy that is going to capitalize on, you know, the ability of their depth, because he puts himself in the right spots to be successful. And I think in a playoff series where we've talked, half this episode has been about depth. But if you have a tired lower lineup line from whoever you're playing out there, having a guy like him who can bury it, it's a incredible thing.
Yeah, it really is. And he's been, like you said, so good all year. And when he was the second line center, the Jets were the best team in the league. Like they were the number one team in the league when he was the second line center for that whole time. We spent all training camp being like, who's the second line center going to be? Gabe Vilardi or Cole Perfetti? And it ended up being
Vlad
Vladimir.
Domestikov.
Yeah. It was funny. But just a quick one here. McDavid at 99 assists. That is unbelievable. He's going to hit 100, of course. Can he or McKinnon catch Kucherov? We talked about the points last week. Let me get the official numbers up here. But I saw something that like Kucherov has a 51 point gap on the second highest player on the Lightning in Braden Point.
Insane.
Unbelievable. But here's the official standings here for the points. 136, Nikita Kucherov. 131, Nathan McKinnon. 130, Connor McDavid. I think Kucherov's got it.
Well, he's still putting up 3-point games, so it's like,
Yeah.
as long as he keeps like kind of producing, even like if he puts up like a point every couple games, like he's fine. I
Yeah,
think the biggest thing is Connor McDavid likely hitting 100 assists. Uh, he
unreal.
joins a very, very elite group of players who have ever done that. There's only been 3 other players in NHL history who have done it. They've done it all multiple times, but it's Wayne Gretzky, obviously, Mario Lemieux, obviously, and Bobby Orr. And then you can add
Also,
Connor
obviously,
McDavid to that list
yeah,
if he obviously gets 1 assist in his last 5 games. So
yeah.
um,
All the best
it's
to Connor McDavid. Hopefully, you can find that elusive final assist.
it. I truly think that obviously with the NHL being as skilled as it is right now, I feel like even at times with McDavid being at the level he is, I think it's still lost on people that we're probably seeing the best overall skilled player since Gretzky.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Did you
Like
see the
I
clip the other night of him chasing down McKinnon on that
yes.
backtrack? That looked like a different sport. I'm not even gonna lie. When those two guys are like skating that fast through
It's
the
so
neutral
weird that
zone.
they're both equally fast, but they skate so much,
Yeah.
differently than each other. Like McKinnon skates like he's angry at the ice.
Yes. Yeah. And McDavid just like he takes 3 steps and he's at full speed. And his full speed
I
is faster than
It's
anyone. It's
insane.
I've said this many times, but the Oilers are easily my second most watched team in the NHL
Yeah.
after the Jets, of course. Um, and it's because of Connor McDavid. And he is unbelievable. They're so much fun to watch in the playoffs too, because McDavid is like fully locked in and giving it his all on every shift. And it's really incredible. We are really like Biz Nasty had a tweet about this the other day that this regular season has been one of the best in NHL history, and it's really
Yeah.
hard to disagree. Like the President's Trophy is still up for grabs with like
Yep.
10 days left in the regular
Everyone's,
season.
there's a lot of just like hatred and anger in the league again, which has been missing. Um,
Art
and
Ross, Trace, and the Hart Race are neck and neck down the stretch here. Like it's nuts. It's been an amazing regular season, and it really makes you think that this is like a golden like the NHL had that ad where it's like they show Gretzky and then they show Bobby Orr and they're like that was the golden age of hockey and you didn't realize it. And then they show like McDavid and Matthews and McKinnon now and they're like and this is also the golden age. Like really, we're going to look back in 10 years and be like, wow, Bedard, McKinnon, McDavid. Like I know there will be new
what's the
superstars,
thing
but
like,
these are
and like that
the most
we've
talented
talked about
players.
all these accomplishments. Austin Matthews is over 60 goals again.
Not going to hit 70. I was going to say he's going to, but he's not. But yes, like that's unreal. The NHL is a great sport to watch. That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Yuval asking, what are the ideal D pairings for round 1 against the Avalanche? I'll let you go first on this because they did change it against the Wild. I will say they started with Morrissey Pionk and then Dylan DeMello, Brendan Dillon and Dylan DeMello on that second pairing. And then flipped Pionk and DeMello into the third period, which goes back to the pairings they've had all year: Morrissey, DeMello, Dillon, Pionk, and then the third pairing is third pairing. But what are the ideal D pairs in your eyes?
So I'm putting aside the Rick Bonus thing again because there's certain players that just seem to have a certain spot in the lineup at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to emphasize it that these are my ideal pairings because it probably won't happen. First pairing I think is fairly obvious. It's going to be Morrissey DeMello. Like those
Yeah,
two are the two best, together.
yeah,
In my opinion, he hasn't. That's the thing. I don't think it happens because he hasn't played like at all, which frustrates me because you spent a 4th-round pick to get him. I would put Colin Miller with Brendan Dillon on the second pairing because I would say at his worst for Colin Miller, I don't see him being as volatile in terms of his mistakes as what Neil Pionk has been. Neil Pionk has given so much back to the opponent this year that it's truly like it's been very frustrating to watch. Seeing him perpetually in a top 4 role, regardless of how he's been playing, which for a great deal of the last few months has been like noticeably bad. Like not just like, oh, he hasn't been great. Like the mistakes he's making, the penalties he's taking, the fact that he chases guys below the blue line for no particular reason. Like you see that, you get him out of the top four for, let's say, Miller. You shelter his minutes, suddenly it doesn't look as bad. And then you play Sandberg, Pionk, and then have Stanley as that alternate in, depending on sort of what the outlook of the series is.
Yeah.
In terms of what is going to happen, it'll probably be Morrissey DeMello, Dylan Pionk, and then Sandberg and someone.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to see.
I think that's what we're going to see. And I think I agree with you that Neil Pionk has really struggled as of late, and that sheltering his minutes right now is probably for the better. Playing him with Dylan Sandberg in that third pair would, I think, do wonders for maybe him getting his confidence back and getting back. Because let's be honest, like I honestly thought for the first 3-4 months of the year, he was having a bounce back year, like off of last year. He was having a good season, and he's been really struggling as of late. So I agree with you that I'd like to see that. Maybe even over the last couple of games here, load manage him a little bit. I know Rick Bonus the other day in the scrum said he's against load managing players in a way because you lose the edge, as he said. But if Neil Pionk, I think, is a guy that could use a game off or two just to mentally reset, because he was having a good year and he's struggling right now. But yeah, I mainly agree with your points there. I'm not going to disagree much there. Stanley showing promise. Yeah, we talked about Logan Stanley for a good chunk of the first, because you were
what
late.
happens when you show up late, Jeff.
Yeah. Come on, man. You're late. No. Matt, will Level Flight do any pre or post game playoff shows? Post game, I'd say no. That's pretty wrapped up with Illegal Curve and KNR.
I mean, pregame might be
Pregame
possible.
might be. We're all done classes at least for the term, and when the playoffs start, we'll all be done exams as well. In terms of school, so not much in the way there. So maybe some pregame shows, but definitely bringing you LFP live episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays per usual. But if the Jets are playing on like Tuesday, Thursday, maybe we'll go Wednesday, Friday, so we can talk about each game kind of thing.
And like maybe obviously this we have to talk about this, but I'm throwing it out there to the people.
Yeah, sure.
But I was also thinking too, like depending on scheduling, there, maybe there's a shot that we go live on a game day. Like if they're especially if they're on the road, because obviously it's a little bit tougher when they're home and we've got a bunch of stuff going on. But if they're on the road and playing a game in Colorado, maybe we go live a couple hours before the game to preview some stuff. Like even if it's just a short one, get some interaction going there, and then we'd publish it as an episode, obviously the next day, which would possibly be a great thing depending on what we say and if they follow up on that, or if we say something and they go completely against it. So
Yeah.
it has a level of surprise in it. So let us know what you think of that. But at the very least, we're going to be recording around those specific games. So be prepared for a lot of playoff content.
Yeah, we are super excited to bring playoff content. Hopefully we have a few rounds to talk about. That would be pretty fun. Yeah. Jeff. Oh yeah, come on, man. That's the fine. Jeff gets shamed. Yeah, I agree. that really is the fine. He comes in. And hey, we talked about Stanley at the start. We said he's playing great, played a great game against the Wild, and he's an option for game one. And if the Jets have home ice and they have the matchup and they can shelter him so that he's not out there against Nathan McKinnon, he's even more of an option. The people are liking your live LFP Donald and Portage. Yeah, the people are liking your proposition, Brian. The pregame would be pretty cool.
You're live at Donald and Portage right now.
Connor.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit darker there than I
beautiful outside.
think it is here, but you're already there.
When will the sun rise? It's already 10. What's going on here? Live on location at the street party. Yeah, that would be something else. That would be chaotic for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like those deep pairings for the first round that you brought up, Brian, from Doug. Jeff, I'm with you. Edmonton is fun to watch. 100% agree. Jets girl, enjoy the beautiful sun today, Jets Nation. I gotta go. Thanks, LFP. Great show as always. See you later. Enjoy the great day outside. It is beautiful out there. Can't wait to get outside. live on location with Sammy Smokes Catering. Now we're talking.
There we go.
Now we're talking. See, this is why you throw things out to the chat, because great things blossom from it. That is funny. No daylight savings where Connor is. No, I'm still waiting on the sun here. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going back, making sure I didn't miss any questions here.
Think we've got everything?
I think so. Let me just do a quick double check. Real quick, while I'm just looking, I'm going through the entire chat because I feel like I missed stuff earlier on that I say I'm going to save for the questions portion, etc. What do you think? Like, I want to ask you about Vladislav Nemestikov, because I feel like, is he? I don't know how to structure this, because we talk about Cole Perfetti and he's played great, but he might come out of the lineup. That is a fact. Do you think there's any chance that Nemestikov's the guy that moves up and Toffoli were to stay on the third line? Like, how have you liked the Lowry Toffoli combination in a small sample size? And do you think Bonus has seen enough from those two to, when Niederreiter comes back, maybe keep them together?
I mean, I thought they've looked solid. There's a situation where I think that they're even better if it's Niederreiter, Lowry, Toffoli, and I'd love to see that. I just don't know if we do. And so like that's where I would kind of be with that, because I think ideally you want to have deeper offensive games against, these incredible offensive firepowers like Nate McKinnon. But I mean, personally, I liked what I saw from Lowry and Toffoli in terms of play style and everything. Like, it kind of, they mesh well. And a guy like Vlad, I understand like his Swiss Army knife role. I just don't know if, like, I've that's the thing. As Jeff said, I think I'm in that fan club as well. I'm a card carrying member of the Vlad Nemestikov fan club, but I truly think that his role on this team is in its best as a depth position. Obviously, he can contribute in the top six, but I think he's more valuable lower in the lineup, if that makes sense.
I agree. I'm more just, I 100% agree. I wanted to get your thoughts on the Lowry Toffoli thing, because that's an option for the Jets, and it's something that has really shaped the forward core, especially with Nino being out, and has helped them like fill a gap here while he gets healthy. Dawn with the breaking news in chat.
Whoa.
I just want to double check this. Colby Barlow assigned to the Manitoba Moose. Obviously, he signed his ELC right out of the draft. So they're able to do this. He's with the OHL. Season ends, immediately assign him to the Moose. And yeah, that'll be really fun. I'm just going to search up the Moose schedule here to see when he might get into a game. I don't doubt that he will get into a game. The Moose have great depth up front, but I still think, like, at this point, playoff hockey in the AHL for Colby Barlow would do a lot for his development
100%.
and where he's at. So they do play. What is the day today? They play today, and I doubt he plays today. But next weekend they have 2 home games: Saturday, April 13th against the Iowa Wild, and then Sunday, April 14th against the Iowa Wild again, of course. And that is their season. And then they head into the playoffs. So, or that might just be home games. Maybe I'm going crazy. But anyways, next weekend they play against the Iowa Wild at home. If you are hoping to watch Colby Barlow, I'm sure he'll be on the lineup. What are you expecting to see from Barlow down the stretch here, if he is able to get into a few games and maybe even a few playoff games for the Manitoba Moose, who have turned their season around and are going to make the playoffs?
What I'm looking for is just the ability for his game to translate to the pro level. We obviously know that he can score at will in juniors. I just need to see how that translates, because, I've talked at length about how I like Barlow's upside. I was hoping to see a little bit more growth as a complete game this year, but you can only do so much at the junior level. So this is huge for him, even if it's just for a few games, just to sort of see how things translate. Because if they do, then suddenly he jumps right back up my rankings, because it's like he has an unbelievable shot. His offensive instincts are great. It's just putting it all together at the pro level, which a lot of guys, take some time to do. So I think this is a fantastic opportunity for a young guy like him.
Yep. I 100% agree, and I'm honestly going to try and make it out to a Moose game next weekend. I know the Jets play at 3 against the Avs on the Saturday, so maybe the Sunday game, and I hope Barlow's in the lineup there. Maybe he'll be playing
Yeah.
with Brad Lambert. I think Lambert's been on a really good line with Jeff Malott. I saw them score a really nice goal the other night, so I doubt they break up that line, but he'll be in the lineup for sure. They're a deep team, but at the same time, you have a first round pick coming over, and depth is paramount. CMAC also late to the party.
Yeah, don't admit it.
Shaming. Yeah. Well, late to the party. We'll catch the replay. Wow, Barlow sign. Got to go see him this year. Go Moose, go. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make my way out to a game because that is something to watch, and watching prospects is always fun. That's what the AHL is for. So yeah, that'll be really fun. This is so funny to me. I should bring this up because Matt responded on Twitter with the proof that he's watching outside. Sorry, my ring.
Oh,
look at that.
With the dog.
Yeah. Beautiful day outside. Proof that he's watching outside. I mean, you see the proof behind me that I'm outside recording live on Portage Avenue. Might start taking questions from fans here around the building. No. But anyways, unless you have anything else, it's time to get out of here. Any last thoughts on the Jets in general, on the chat today? Anything you want to say on the way out of the 8th edition of LFP Live?
Yeah, for me, big week ahead. Going to be a lot to talk about on our series of episodes this week. So, yeah, we're going to be recording Monday before the game on Tuesday. We're going to be recording after that on the Wednesday for a Thursday release, and then we will have 2 games to talk about on LFP Live next week. So against Dallas and Colorado. So that'll be a fantastic episode because I can only assume there's going to be a lot to talk about, regardless of outcome. So
yes,
I'm looking forward to this next week.
Me too. I don't see a scenario in which we're struggling for content on next Sunday on LFP Live with those 2 games to talk about. Because wow, that is this is a great week, honestly, of Jets hockey. This close to the playoffs against 3 playoff Central Division opponents, all on the road. The Jets have a chance to do something really special here, or they have a chance to be frauds. And I know that's like a whoa.
Don't say the F word.
Yeah. No, but we'll see. We'll see.
That's
honestly.
The real F word. Frauds.
Yeah. Around these parts, it is. No, but we'll see. It'll be a really fun week regardless. And I'm super pumped for the next edition of LFP Live. So join us then. Thank you, Jeff, for the comment. Keep the great content rolling. We really appreciate everyone here joining us. Oh my goodness. Kermit the Frauds. Is that the Winnipeg Jets' newest nickname? That is funny. I'm not gonna lie. Anything else from no? Good to go. Good to go.
As always, thanks to everyone watching. Yeah. We're through overall all of our platforms. Again, we're well over 200 people watching us right now. So always thankful for it. And yeah, make sure on your way out. Oh, wow.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe, and don't underseason your meat. But on your way out, like and subscribe, share with your friends, share with your neighbors, share with that weird guy who walks down your street occasionally. You're not sure his intentions. See what they're doing. See if they want to watch LFP Live with you.
Maybe not that guy. That's suspect walking down the street. No, but yeah, tell everyone about LFP. We're growing so much. We really appreciate everyone who's checking out the audio versions and here joining us live. We love doing the lives because it gives us a chance to interact with all of you who listen to our stuff and listen to the content that we're putting out. So we really appreciate it. We will be back Tuesday. We'll see you then. Thank you everyone for joining us on the 8th edition of LFP Live. Until Tuesday, until next Sunday when we're back on YouTube, we will see you then. Have a great couple of days, everyone, and enjoy the game against Nashville. See ya.
See ya.